question about the bowl game against Navy.
Boy, that was quite the start to Brent Venables' press conference today. Welcome back, Eddie Radosevich, George Stoia here from Atlanta, the College Football Hall of Fame, and it was Oklahoma's day. And I think that, George, welcome in. How are we?
Great. Did not have Navy. How'd you prepare for Navy on the bingo card?
I don't know if Oklahoma's going to be adding the triple option, but they once did. We can say that. Moving on, though, 2025 football season ahead, obviously the magnitude of the season. We talked a lot about that in the preview show yesterday, what we wanted to hear from Brent Venables, as well as John Mateer, R. Basin Thomas, Robert Spears-Jennings. And, I thought overall today was pretty good. I would say one of the biggest takeaways from Oklahoma's day here in Atlanta at SEC Media Day is just the simple fact that I think that there's a lot of momentum, a lot of positive buzz around Oklahoma. That's probably nothing new to you all out there. We've talked about that here since basically the end of the season, since we left the Armed Forces Bowl against Navy. But at the same time, it feels like the people that are the highest on Oklahoma from a national perspective are the people that don't cover the team necessarily, which has been a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of hype that Oklahoma has been receiving, from people that we went on different podcasts today. The Feinbaum show, Paul Feinbaum thinks Oklahoma is going to be really good this year. And the thing that we keep telling people is be a little cautious because of what happened last year. But I think that there's a lot of believers in John Mateer. There's a lot of believers in Ben Arbuckle. Jaden Ott was a huge talking point today. It felt like everybody got asked about him as well as Mateer. So I don't know, Eddie. The expectations are starting to rise a little bit for this Oklahoma team, despite coming off of obviously a very disappointing last year.
No doubt about it. One of the first questions out of the gate on Wednesday for Brent Venables was that of his culture. And, obviously I think that is one of the things that's been so tough to talk about Oklahoma. The culture's in a great spot. But they are coming off of the second, 6, and 7 season over the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that Brent's done a really good job of keeping everything in the locker room, keeping guys together. You saw that last year, and you hear guys talk about that all the time. In retention, being able to keep the guys that were really good for you a year ago was key. And we saw several of those guys today, R. Mason Thomas and Robert Spears-Jennings. Getting both those guys back has been huge. So I think he has built a really good culture. Now it's, can they use that culture to win them football games? Because obviously that was an issue, last season. So I thought it was interesting. He gave a 15-minute opening statement to his podium session, which, we had already spoken to him.
Sure.
Before that. We did a little local media scrum. But, boy, he was long-winded. And then I thought he gave some really good answers, though, to, honestly, some tough questions. The Navy question was totally out of pocket. There was the Texas, I think it was a Texas reporter that asked him, you've been terrible in the OU Texas game.
Basically listed all the bad things that have happened over the last 3 years at the Cotton Bowl outside of the Dylan Gabriel experience.
Not biased, though. And so, but he had some other questions about wide receivers and things like that. But I thought his answer to the culture question kind of summed up where he feels like this program is right now.
Here is Brent Venables on the podium with the media on Wednesday in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that, great question. I think it goes without saying that we had a lot of guys that were scarred up, guys that were still here on the roster, a lot of guys that were scarred up and didn't know how to play and prepare the right way. It's not like a knock on anybody, but I don't think had the confidence, probably most importantly, and so that's it takes a lot. You nurture that, you develop that, you recruit that, and then you're relentless about chasing excellence and being the example for what it looks like every single day. You got to be a therapist, you got to be a coach, you got to be a teacher, you got to be a motivator, and I love that. I love building things. I like building things that are to last, and so we literally started from the ground up. And this, again, will be the first year that we've had guys that are in our program for 4 years, 6 players on defense. This will be year 4 for them. And I expect them, the more you play, the better you get. That's a developmental game. And but culture, mindset, how we do what we do, how we practice, the passion, the intensity should be like a game mindset, every rep. and those are game reps. And to get the buy-in is not an easy thing to do, as many coaches will tell you. And but I've always chosen, instead of making my guys do something, I can get them to do whatever I want. And but I want to inspire and to motivate and challenge, and that's how we've created the buy-in, with our players, to get our guys excited to go dominate practice, dominate the minutia, dominate the meeting room, and to play at a really, really high elite level. So that's been fun to see the change. We're not anywhere close to where we want to be and where we're going to be, but we're moving in the right direction. I'm proud of all of the work that's gone into it from both the players and the coaches.
Certainly interesting. I mean, I think that everything that Brent Venables says, to a certain extent, is going to be examined, right, over the next couple months, and particularly over the next month when there's nothing else to talk about. John Mateer, he talked to the media today. You wrote about it. You were down at the Manning Passing Academy a couple weeks ago talking about, just kind of everything that's come with his move to Norman. It's been interesting. And I think that, when you talk about John Mateer, when you talk about this Oklahoma football team, obviously the success Oklahoma has as a team is going to depend on what he's able to do alongside Ben Arbuckle. But just overall, what did you think of John Mateer's day, as well as just the spotlight that is on this guy from Little Elm High School in Dallas?
I would say, other than probably DJ Lagway today, John was by far the most talked to guy. I mean, there was a lot of media around him, and it was probably about the same as DJ Lagway from Florida, but I thought he handled it extremely well. Look, he is, and I've said this before, getting to know him, extremely confident. There's no situation that you put him in that it feels like he's maybe uncomfortable. He likes to throw out a lot of jokes. He likes to go back and forth with you, and he's very confident that he's going to play well. And that's not because everybody keeps saying he's going to. There's a lot of hype around him that people are continuing to build up, but he has said time and again he doesn't listen to that, and he's kind of embracing these expectations that are being thrown his way.
I think there's a reason why Toby Rowland from the peanut gallery upstairs, there's a reason why he's being compared to this guy in his uniform, because of what he brings to the Oklahoma football program. I talked to him today, though, just about the expectations that come, the comfort level that comes with that. Remember back to Dylan Gabriel and how he handled that first season and really kind of evolved going into the second season in Norman. But big spotlight, big shoes to fill. Here is John Mateer.
It's taking the next step. I think we have a lot of good offensive leaders that really, really care about the outcome of this team, and that matters a lot. And so it's been great. The spring was good. There was days where it should have been better. It's the same with the summer, and then in fall camp it'll be the same, because we're all chasing perfection, and that's real hard to do. And this defense is really good, so that's going to challenge us even more. But we're going to get to where we need to be.
Has any of the hype just around you personally, is it taking you by any surprise? It seems like there's been quite a bit here over the last couple of months.
I would say only because I've never had it before.
Yeah.
I've never been the big name in the media, and now I try to get off of it, try not to look at it. I don't think it's good for me.
Is that hard?
No, you just put the screen time on your phone, you don't look at it.
John, how much has this coaching staff encouraged you to just be yourself?
A lot. They, Coach Venables does a great job making sure that I don't put too much pressure on myself. The media says this and that, but that's not what it's about. It's about me and what I do every day, what I bring to this team, and how I lift up my teammates.
Obviously, John Mateer, he has big shoes to fill. He's going to need help, though, right, from the skill positions. And wide receiver was a talking point on Wednesday. Obviously, the last season, it was a struggle bus. Let's be honest about it. Everybody was injured. I think, going into that, maybe the Missouri game or one of those games on the back end of the schedule, you looked at the availability report coming out from the SEC, and it was like 1 through 7 of what you thought that was going to be in August. But it does feel like he feels like they're pretty deep. I think that a lot of things on the offensive side of the football is going to be a show me type of situation. They're going to have to go out and do it on Saturday. What did you think of what he had to say, as well as what Brent Venables had to say during the early media scrum with the local media here? He talked about Giovanni Gibson. He said he's on schedule. What does that mean? We do not know, but it is a positive that he hasn't had any setbacks.
Yeah, and he's out of his boot. That was the big news. No longer wearing the boot, which means he's close. He's close to getting out and running around and doing all those things. So we'll see. But Yeah, I mean, John, he talked about just about every single wide receiver on the roster today. I mean, I know he raved about Deion Burks and the work ethic that he's put in this offseason. Jermichael Carter, I think, has made a really good impression early on in summer workouts, as well as a young guy like Elijah Thomas. I know that I think you asked him about at the podium as well. So he kind of talked about every guy, and it's interesting, Eddie. You know, a year ago, you felt really good about that wide receiver room. Right. All those guys end up getting hurt. It was funny. We actually heard from Brennan Thompson today. He's now with Mississippi State, and he was here. But you have all those injuries a year ago, and now this year you're like, I don't know what to think about the wide receiver room, but the guys in that building feel like they have a lot of playmakers and difference makers there.
A lot of confidence from quarterback one, John Mateer, on Wednesday about his skill position in the wide receiver unit. Here he is talking about a smorgasbord of about everybody at the wide receiver position.
Have you ever played a football season before without any wide receivers? And given all the injuries, how has that position improved?
Yeah, it's. I think it's hard to do. Certainly, it's hard to get a first down or two. But no, it. As we've said, and I would take this moment just to say, you know, what type of a future I believe that Jackson Arnold and Mike Hawkins, both of those guys, put in a really tough spot as first-year players. The supporting cast that, you know, they can't play quarterback by themselves, and put them in a really tough position based on what happened. And both of them are going to be incredibly successful in the future. And but yeah, that made it really difficult. And no excuses. What you would ideally like to see on any given Saturday, if you're going to be competitive and have a chance to win, as an offense and a defense, and a special teams that complement one another, not compensate for one another. And when you give the ball back more than you take it from the opponent, I know it's hard to win.
Seems like the buzz around Elijah Thomas has been fantastic through the spring. Is it just one of those things every day he's doing something that freshmen normally don't do from what you've seen?
He's doing a great job. He's an athletic freak. I mean, you see by his weight room times and his weight room lifts and his running times, and then on the field he's picking up the offense in the game real well. It's not all the time that the freshman receiver can feel the game the way he does, but he feels the game really well.
It's the process like of keeping guys like Jaden Gibson, Javonte Gibson, just kind of a part of the program despite being not able to do stuff on the field. I
think it's important you can't do stuff with them on the field, so you do stuff with them off the field. And that's the same with everybody, but I think being there for them, because they didn't expect it to happen again, you know, and it sucks. And Javonte got to stay at my house for a little bit right when it happened, and that was one of the best things that's happened to me all year. I love being around him, love being able to serve, you know, just cook for him and help him, and that really brought me a lot of joy and made our relationship real strong. But they've been around and they're helping, like they're out there at practice hyping everybody up and asking questions, and they're still really involved, and I applaud them for that because it's not easy, and both of them went through it and around the same time. So, but I'm so proud of them, and they're progressing pretty well. J. Mike, man, he's great. You can tell he loves being around the guys, and he loves being here. He loves the work. It's been fun getting to know him, and we live in the same neighborhood, so we've been around. And just watching him play football is a lot of fun.
Elijah Thomas is going to be one of those young guys. Obviously, you just heard John Mateer talking about him. Seems like he's impressed everybody. It seems like, you know, all the minimal stuff that we do get from the summer. It's like Elijah Thomas, he's done something on that day when we talk to the source. But there are a number of young players within the program, and we've seen here over the first couple years in Brent's tenure at Oklahoma, they're not scared to throw them out there, right? Yep. Think about, even Taylor Tatum to a certain extent, Eli Bowen, obviously, a year ago.
Brent even said today, what was it, that OU led the nation in freshman played the last 2 years?
I want to say it was 24 of the 48, right? Then they have a lot of guys returning. I know R. Mason Thomas has talked about guys being in the program third and fourth year now. That's why the retention was so important during the offseason. Coming out of last season in January, R. Mason Thomas, obviously, one of those guys. Jaden Gibson, or Jaden Jackson, one of those guys. Yeah. There's a lot of Jadens on this team. It's going to mix me up all year. But you talked to R. Mason Thomas, you talked to Robert Spears Jennings about young guys within the program that could help on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and they listed several guys. You know, I asked for just one, and the list went on. And whether it was, freshmen that could maybe step up. I mean, I know some young guys like a Michael Boganowski were brought up. Taylor Wine was a name. You'll hear it here in a second. I don't want to give away too much. But R. Mason Thomas is high on that group, and I think that they feel like they've got a lot of really young talent. I know Brent as well kind of went on and on talking about some of the young freshmen. I mean, he brought up, I think, Michael Fasusi, Danny Okoye. I know Danny's not a freshman, but still another young guy. So they think that they've got some studs that haven't played a ton yet, that maybe you haven't seen yet, but they feel like are going to be big contributors this year.
I think everybody's going to like what he had to say about Danny Okoye, the second-year defensive end, as well as a number of the young guys that we were able to catch up with, R. Mason Thomas, Robert Spears-Jennings, Brent Venables, and John Mateer, talking young players within the program.
Yeah, up front on offensive line, I would say a couple of the guys, you'll see a lot of Eddie Pierre-Louis, who didn't get to campus until last summer. And I think you'll see UK Daniel Akinkume. I think you'll see Mike Fasusi, Ryan Fogier, a couple of freshmen offensive linemen that are mature beyond their years, mentally and physically. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I would think a few names that you may or may not know. Danny Okoye, pound for pound, might be the best athlete on our football team. I think Reggie Powers is also somebody that's got great position flexibility and play a lot of different positions for us. Cortland Gilroy is a young man from Houston that showed up on campus, a corner that loves to compete. That's probably his best quality and trait. He's long, he's super athletic, but he loves to compete, and he shows up every day. He's a dog and plays with tremendous effort, lets you coach him hard. So I love that about Cortland. And thinking out loud here inside, I think you'll see a lot more of David Stone as well. Trent Wilson has had a really nice transition from high school as well. And then man Omarion Robinson is a guy that got here in January that has tremendous range, great instincts, natural safety as well.
Reggie Powers, I feel like he's a young guy, and Mike Boganowski. Those two guys right there, they're always with each other. So they're always getting extra work together, recovery together. They're always with each other. I feel like they're pushing each other to be great because they both know where their end goal wants to be at. So I feel like those two guys are going to have a major leap this year.
PJ, and Taylor Wine, those are two for sure. They're hungry. They want it. Like Taylor Wine wants it. You can tell. And so I'm not going to be surprised when y'all talking about him in the media or when he gets, 5 sacks and it's like going crazy. So yeah, it won't be surprised because I see him every day. Y'all don't. So, but like for him to be like that, that's a recipe for success.
Certainly exciting. I know that you're going to need some of the upperclassmen to step up. It seems like there's a good leadership core right now. Just hearing some of the stuff that R. Mason had to say today. Even John Mateer, who relatively new to the program, obviously, he's become a leader within that group. Let's talk talent. And we have a little bit of a special. You were able to catch up with Jim Nagy, Oklahoma general manager, here on Wednesday. We'll have a full show kind of wrapping up everything that Jim Nagy had to say about the program and just kind of his role within everything right now. But we do want to leave you with this. And you asked him about players on this year's team, the talent level on this year's team. I know that there's been a lot of discussions on the message boards about just the overall talent and recruiting the talent to come to Norman. Just for the folks out there, we're going to get into everything on Thursday when we get back home in studio on Campus Corner, but it does seem like he's excited about this group going into the season.
Yeah, I think that he feels like there's a lot of guys that maybe he didn't know a ton about before this year and before getting to Oklahoma that now he feels like could be potential NFL type players. And I know that, even talking to Brent, he certainly feels like this is the most talented team he's had in his 4 years. They feel like they've got NFL guys just about every single level on defense and offense. And, I think that starts with quarterback at John Mateer. I know that he's very high on him. We'll get to those comments tomorrow. But I think that they feel like this group, it has the talent to compete at a high level. And obviously Nagy helped with some of that in the spring portal, but I think he's even been surprised by some of the guys that maybe he didn't know about.
Here is Oklahoma General Manager Jim Nagy talking about the talent on the 2025 Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, I'll say this, but the phones rang a bunch over the last month because now the NFL guys are getting into their summer tape work. And I've had a lot of friends hit me up like, man, you guys got real dudes this year. So there's going to be a lot of foot traffic through OU. We talked about it on the flight with Spears-Jennings and R. Mason and John, is that, guys, there's going to be a lot of guys with NFL logos at practice this fall. Just be ready. And I told him that's a great opportunity for you guys, because like practice evals for NFL is huge. Just like watching your tempo, you taking coaching, you being leaders, being good teammates. So yeah, you look on both sides of the ball. We were talking about it yesterday, kind of talking about our plan, what it's going to be like for NFL scouts, and we're like, okay, what position coaches are going to have to be made accessible to the scouts this year? Literally, there's an NFL player in every position group across the field, basically. So yeah, I think the talent level's right there. I think last year, everything's been talked about last year. I think we all know there was a lot of reasons behind the record, but I like the talent level. I do.
So that's going to do it from Atlanta. It was certainly an interesting day. And again, I know that we hit it on at the beginning of the program today, but I've been fairly surprised just by the overall positivity around the program, or from the outside looking into the program. I think there's a lot of people as we leave Atlanta that feel like Oklahoma, if things are to go right, and obviously you're going to have to talk about September and getting to 5-0 and getting to the Cotton Bowl, beating Michigan, beating Auburn, there's a lot of momentum that could be built in the month of September.
They got to go prove it now. I do feel like, last year I think there was a lot of mystery around Oklahoma, and I still think that there is some this year because there's so much turnover, but it does feel like there's a lot more positivity. And one, that's because of how well the defense was last year, how many guys are back. And then they did go out and it, on paper, got a lot better on offense. They added the number one quarterback in the portal. They added arguably the number one running back in the portal in Jaden Ott. They go out and get, Ben Arbuckle, who is very highly regarded. I mean, you talk to people here and they love Ben Arbuckle. I think Nagy even said something to me about he thinks he's a future head coach in this sport at a high level. So I think that all of those things, it looks great, Eddie. It's talking season. Sure. And football is 50 days away, maybe less than 50 days away. That's when we'll really find out what this group is made of.
Good news, bad news for Oklahoma fans. You're going to find out rather quickly with Michigan coming to town in week 2. George and I will close down shop here in Atlanta. We're headed back to Oklahoma. We'll be in studio on Thursday, diving a little bit more into the Jim Nagy conversation, as well as plenty more to come from SEC Media Days with John Mateer, R. Mason, and Robert Spears Jennings. For George Stoia, I'm Eddie Radosevich, reporting live from Atlanta from the College Football Hall of Fame, SEC Media Day, Day 3. We will see you back in Norman right here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.